Today we explore a question that seems simple on the surface, yet it touches the very depths of the human soul. Does a man need a woman after the age of 60? It's a topic often relegated to the shadows, a conversation society tends to avoid, as if it conceals a sense of shame or a fear of admitting our own vulnerability. But this is a reality for millions of men around the world, men who find themselves at a profound crossroads. It is a threshold in life when the children are grown, a career has reached its conclusion, and the relentless noise of life gradually fades into a quiet stillness. In this quiet, a man finally has the time to ask himself one of the most honest and vital questions. What do I truly need now? Many still cling to traditional notions that in his later years, a man must have a woman by his side, living in comfort, warmed by the family hearth, waiting for that proverbial glass of water. Yet, with each passing year, a growing number of men are making an unexpected and at first glance paradoxical choice. They are turning towards solitude. Some divorce, others refuse new relationships, and still others cease the search for a partner altogether. This is not always the result of pain or disappointment. Often, it is a deliberate choice, dictated by an inner maturity. Why is this happening? Why would a man, after decades of shared life, suddenly decide to walk the rest of his path alone? What lies behind this decision? A flight from love or a journey toward the authentic self? Today, we will delve into 8 reasons why men over 60 are increasingly choosing solitude, and we will ponder whether this is truly a path to freedom or simply a new form of loneliness. After 60, a man can begin to feel something new and astonishing, a sense of inner freedom that was once relegated to the bottom of his priorities. His entire life was a tapestry of obligations: work, family, raising children, solving an endless stream of domestic and financial problems. But now, that is all in the past. The children have grown and moved away, the career is complete, and in the house where chaos once reigned, a profound silence has taken its place. It is in this silence that a man, for the first time in a long time, begins to hear himself. He realizes he no longer owes anything to anyone. The need to explain, to justify, to rush, to concede, it all dissolves. In its place, a right emerges. The right to command his own life according to his own will, free from the weight of others' expectations. He can wake at any hour, pursue what truly delights him, and structure his days as he sees fit. This brings a feeling of lightness, even euphoria. Many men compare it to a return to their youth, not the youth of fiery passions, but the one that held space for dreams and personal desires. Take Yuri, 61. After his divorce, he realized he had spent his whole life living for others, forgetting himself. Now he travels, writes his memoirs, and begins each morning with a run through the forest. No one pulls at him, no one asks unnecessary questions, no one demands an account of his time. This feeling of being his own master has been a revelation. Psychotherapists confirm that a man who finds himself alone for the first time can experience an inner relief impossible to achieve in a constant partnership. Viktor Frankl, in his logotherapy, wrote that the meaning of life is not given from the outside, but is born from the depths of one's own freedom. And Erich Fromm emphasized that a mature person is one who can choose not out of fear, but out of a true understanding of what he wants. Thus, the need for freedom after 60 is not a rebellion or a whim. It is a conscious return to the self, a chance to live life authentically, even in its twilight. The second reason, the comfort of solitude. Loneliness, which once seemed like a temporary phase, over time becomes a way of life. A man who has survived a divorce or the loss of a partner first feels a void, but gradually begins to inhabit this new territory. Over the years, solitude ceases to be a source of pain and transforms into a zone of comfort. A clear, convenient rhythm is established. Everything proceeds according to his plan, without external pressure or the need to accommodate another's wishes. No one asks him to be convenient. No one controls, reproaches, or disturbs his inner peace. This stability becomes almost sacred. Any attempt to disrupt it is perceived as an invasion, a risk to the hard-won equilibrium. A man accustomed to living alone does not want to adapt again to another's habits, whims, and emotions. This is what happened with Valery, 66. He did not immediately accept solitude after his marriage ended, but after a few years he realized he was happy just as he was. His morning begins with a cup of coffee in complete silence. No one interferes with his plans. No one demands explanations. His married friends sometimes say with a hint of envy, "You're a free man." And he simply smiles and replies, "I'm used to it." Psychologists note that such a habit is not just a matter of domestic convenience, but a deep psychological rooting. Carl Jung called this the process of individuation, a return to the authentic essence of one's personality. In maturity, a person plays fewer social roles and strives more for authenticity. Solitude helps to remove the masks imposed by society. It becomes a mirror in which the true self is finally reflected. A man learns to live with himself, and he finds he likes it. And if life is already filled with inner harmony, is it worth opening the door to someone who might destroy it? Reason 3. A shift in intimacy. With age, physical intimacy loses the sharp edge it had in youth, giving way to deeper experiences. A man over 60 increasingly seeks not passion, but peace, understanding, and a quiet connection of souls. His needs change, and physical attraction no longer occupies the central place in his life. Moreover, memories of past relationships, especially painful ones, can form an internal barrier, preventing him from opening up to new closeness. Roman, 67, speaks of this frankly. "I've been through several difficult breakups, and now I'm much calmer on my own. I no longer want to give my soul to someone who might wound it again." For him, comfort is stability without emotional storms. He has devoted himself to reading, gardening, and nature photography, and these pursuits bring him genuine fulfillment. From a psychological perspective, this transition is natural. Freud called it sublimation, the process by which energy, once directed at physical desire, is transformed into creative or intellectual activity. Instead of passion, art. Instead of a battle for attention, a contemplation of meaning. Modern geriatric research confirms that a decrease in libido in men does not mean an end to vitality. On the contrary, it marks the beginning of a new phase. At this age, energy becomes more refined, more profound, and directed inward. A man, freed from the pressure of instinct, gains the freedom to explore himself, his interests, and his inner world. Intimacy is now perceived not as a physical act, but as a dialogue of souls. Many begin to see more responsibility than pleasure in closeness, and therefore consciously avoid new connections. This is not an escape, but a transition to another level, where being in harmony with oneself is more important than constantly seeking validation of one's attractiveness. And as the body's demands recede, the spirit, in turn, steps forward. Reason 4. The desire to live the rest of life for oneself. When a man reaches the age of 60, he begins to truly grasp the fleeting nature of life. Theoretical reflections on mortality, which once seemed distant, become a part of his daily thoughts. This awareness is not always frightening. More often, it is awakening. Each new day begins to feel like a precious gift that cannot be wasted. The man thinks, if not now, when? He starts asking himself honest questions. What did I miss? What did I dream of but never do? What would I like to try while I still have the strength? Increasingly, he chooses joy over obligation, freedom over compromise, his own desires over others' expectations. Artyom, 64, worked his whole life as an accountant, devoted to his family, and for years postponed his passions. After retiring, he picked up a paintbrush for the first time and began to paint. He discovered art as a way to speak with the world and with himself. Soon he added small trips, journeys to places from his past where he could taste life with the same zest as in his youth. He admits, "For the first time, I am living for myself, and it's incredible." His story is not unique. More and more men are deciding not to dedicate the remainder of their lives to new relationships that might bring stress, conflict, or fresh obligations. They don't want to adjust to someone else's rhythm, share their space, or explain their decisions again. The philosopher and psychotherapist Irvin Yalom wrote that the fear of death does not paralyze. On the contrary, it can spur one to action. He argued that an awareness of life's end triggers a desire to live what remains as richly, deeply, and freely as possible. Therefore, many men choose solitude not out of pain, but from an inner understanding. The time has come to be honest with themselves and to live for their own pleasure. And perhaps it is in this choice that they find the mature joy that was so lacking during their years of responsibility and self-denial. Reason 5. the fear of repeating old mistakes. With age, a man accumulates not only life experience but also emotional scars. Divorces, betrayals, prolonged conflicts, all leave a deep mark on the soul. Even if the wounds have healed, the memories of pain and disappointment do not vanish without a trace. A man who has endured such things begins to approach relationships with a wariness, as if they are a potential threat. He is afraid of falling into the trap of a toxic connection again, where he would have to compromise, endure, and suppress himself. Every new woman can seem like a potential source of anxiety rather than inspiration. Instead of romance, he sees possible arguments, misunderstanding, control, and painful separations. This is precisely why many men consciously avoid intimacy, even when they feel an attraction. Mikhail is 69. After a devastating divorce that crushed him emotionally and financially, he no longer takes risks in relationships. He has built a quiet, measured life where he feels calm and safe. "I don't want to start all over again," he says. "What I've built on my own is too precious to me. This isn't just about my home, but my inner state." Mikhail has found a balance he never knew before and is unwilling to put it at risk again. Psychology calls this a protective reaction to trauma, where a person instinctively avoids repeating pain. It's like the fear of being burned a second time, even if the cup has cooled. This caution doesn't always mean a man has become embittered or has forgotten how to love. On the contrary, he may be deeply feeling and kind, but those feelings are now hidden beneath a layer of vigilance. He is not closed off, but he is on guard. Psychologists emphasize that trauma, especially in mature age, can alter one's attachment style. A person becomes less trusting, more reserved, and less willing to take emotional risks. And while from the outside it may seem that he is simply avoiding closeness, in reality, he is protecting the inner tranquility he found with such difficulty. For sometimes, solitude is not a rejection of love, but a pursuit of the peace of mind that was once shattered. Reason 6. A distrust of modern women. In maturity, men increasingly begin to look at women not through the eyes of an infatuated youth, but through the eyes of an observer who has been through many trials. This skepticism does not arise by chance. It is forged from personal failures, deceit, betrayal, and situations where affection was replaced by personal gain. A man once disappointed becomes twice as cautious. He starts to notice details he previously ignored: an excessive interest in money, a feigned kindness, subtle manipulations. Over time, this evolves into a general wariness toward many women, especially those who enter his life after 60. In his eyes, sincerity becomes a rarity, and trust a risk. Pavel, 63, recalls meeting a woman a few years ago who initially showed tenderness and care, but later began to reproach him for the smallest expenses. She made no secret of the fact that she expected financial support, and for his lack of generosity, she called him callous and greedy. The experience left him deeply disillusioned. "I realized that sincere women are like rare books," he says. "You have to search a long time for them, and I no longer have the energy for that." Since then, Pavel no longer seeks a relationship. He has focused on his friends, his garden, and his books. The relentless drumbeat of modern consumer culture also plays its part. Society actively promotes the external trappings of success: money, status, possessions. This erodes traditional values like loyalty, patience, and sincerity. Men feel that they are increasingly expected to provide favorable conditions, not love. This perception causes them to close themselves off, as no one wants to be a wallet or a convenient resource in someone else's script. Psychologists note a rise in anxiety among men entering new relationships, especially if they already have property, savings, or a stable income. Distrust becomes a form of self-defense, albeit one with the bitter taste of loneliness. And though deep down a man may desire closeness, the fear of being used proves stronger. He chooses silence, because silence at least is honest. Reason 7. A desire to focus on a spiritual life. With age, men more frequently begin to ask themselves questions they once postponed. Time becomes more abundant, the hustle recedes, and in this quiet, thoughts of meaning, purpose, and the deeper nature of life are born. The mundane worries that once seemed paramount lose their significance. Material goals cease to inspire, giving way to an inner search. A man begins to seek solitude not out of resentment or exhaustion, but because he feels that only in silence can he hear his true self. He seeks answers not in dialogues with others, but in his own reflections, in books, in observing nature, in prayer or meditation. This process is not an escape from life, but on the contrary, an approach to its very essence. Oleg is 70. After retiring, he devoted himself entirely to the study of spiritual literature, philosophy, and religion. He began to meditate, visit a temple, and keep journals of his reflections. His days are now filled not with conversations, but with meaningful silence. "I don't need many words," he says. "I'm not looking for external love, but for inner wholeness." He lives in a small house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by books, candles, and the timeless thoughts of sages. One of his favorite philosophers, the Roman Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius, wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." These words became a guide for Oleg. He understood that true peace comes not from the outside, but from within. Philosophers and spiritual teachers of all ages have spoken of maturity as the best time for inner growth. In the final years of his life, Leo Tolstoy also withdrew from worldly affairs, seeking truth in simplicity and spiritual purification. The spiritual path requires space, both physical and mental, and often only solitude can provide a man with that space. In such a state, a man does not renounce love. He is simply searching for a deeper form of it, in union with truth, with nature, with God. And a woman, at his side at this moment, might be perceived not as an ally, but as a potential distraction from what matters most, the path to himself. Reason 8, social fatigue and a reevaluation of priorities. After decades spent in constant interaction with people, fulfilling others' expectations and adhering to social roles, a man can feel a profound fatigue. This is not just physical exhaustion. It is an inner emptiness from endless conversations, obligations, and the need to be convenient for others. Business meetings, family gatherings, solving other people's problems, all of this, accumulating over the years, burns out the desire for external contact. And then comes a moment when a man suddenly realizes he no longer wants noisy gatherings, has no need to discuss the news, and isn't seeking anyone's approval. A reevaluation of values begins within him. What is truly important to him now? Sincerity, quiet, simplicity, and his own inner peace. Andrei, 68, after retiring, gave up almost all the social events that once filled his life. He sold his city apartment and moved to a village where his days now pass among trees, books, and walks by the lake. "I'm not a hermit," he says. "I'm just finally living the way I always wanted to." His phone rarely rings, and this doesn't worry him. It pleases him. He has found freedom in detachment from the hustle. Existential philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Viktor Frankl wrote that only in solitude can a person access his authentic desires, those not imposed by society, family, or profession. This reevaluation of priorities is a natural stage of maturity. A man begins to distinguish between where he lived out of duty and where he lived from the call of his heart. He has less and less need for social roles: husband, friend, colleague, conversationalist. He increasingly strives to simply be with himself, without masks, without pretense, without expectations. In such moments, a partnership can seem like an extra burden, taking away the little he has left for himself. This is not a grudge against people, but a deep desire for peace. And if harmony is born in this peace, a man is in no hurry to disrupt it, even for the sake of love. Because as Frankl wrote, meaning cannot be received from the outside. It is born in personal silence. But can a man be truly happy in his fortress of solitude? Solitude offers peace, freedom, and silence, qualities that are especially valued with age. But a crucial question arises: is it possible to be genuinely happy while remaining always alone? Self-sufficiency is an undeniable strength, a sign of maturity and inner stability. However, man, by his nature, remains a creature in need of emotional connection. Even the strongest and most self-assured man sometimes needs someone to simply be there, without demands, but with warmth. A woman in this context is not just a companion, but a source of inspiration, tenderness, and emotional support. Her presence can turn a house from a mere space into a place you want to return to. It is with her that a man can allow himself to be vulnerable without losing his dignity. Alfred Adler argued that a person realizes their full personality only through interaction with others, in communication, care, and connection. Without this, development can stagnate. The American psychologist John Gottman spent decades studying marital relationships and concluded that emotional connection in a couple is the key to longevity and psychological well-being. His research showed that men in stable, warm relationships suffer less from depression, recover more quickly from illness, and feel more confident in old age. The support of a loving woman reduces stress, strengthens the immune system, and can even contribute to a longer life. Emotional intimacy becomes a potent medicine, not only for the body but for the soul. And while solitude can offer much, it cannot replace the warmth of hands that are ready to hold you on a difficult day. At a certain point in his life, every man faces a momentous, perhaps one of his most personal choices: to remain alone with himself or to let another person into his life. This choice should not be based on societal expectations, fears, or pressures. It must be born from within, from an honest answer to the question, what do I truly want? Solitude can be a source of strength, peace, and self-discovery. It helps to build an inner core, to find silence and freedom. But it is important to remember that it is not an end in itself, but merely one stage of the journey. For love and intimacy are also forms of strength. They are a fragile but incredibly powerful energy, capable of healing, inspiring, and giving new meaning to life, even in the most mature years. For women too, mature age is not an ending. It can be the beginning of a new, amazing chapter in which she discovers a different side of herself. Not as a mother, not as someone's wife, but as a self-sufficient, mature, and vibrant individual. She has the right to live for herself, to dream, to take risks, to be inspired, and to inspire. Being alone does not mean being lonely if it is a conscious choice filled with inner meaning. But if the desire to love again, to trust, and to build intimacy lives in her heart, this is not a weakness, but a sign of maturity and courage. As Esther Perel notes, maturity is not a retreat into the shadows, but an opportunity to shine in a new way. And Paulo Coelho reminded us that life always offers a chance for a new story. The most important thing is to be ready to begin it. If the reflections we've raised today resonate with you, and you want to continue exploring life's choices, the wisdom of maturity, inner freedom, and the power of human relationships, subscribe to our channel. Here we talk about things rarely spoken of aloud, and we seek answers to life's most important questions. Don't forget to leave a like if this topic touched your heart. It helps us promote videos like this. And in the comments, please share your thoughts on solitude after 60. What choice would you make, or have you already made? Every voice is important to us, because it is your support and your reflections that inspire us to continue creating deep and honest content.